We hear the terminology, they're coming for your children. Well, it's not to make you fear. I'm not trying to scare you, but what I am saying is these stories that we're going to talk about, they truly are showing that your children are at risk. Your children are the vulnerable ones that they're coming for, because then if they can set agendas, if they can set initiative, they can indoctrinate enough of your kids, then therefore they've won. They've won the battle. You can't face that and change their minds, especially when we send them to school or send them to college and they're there way more than they're actually at home. Let's jump into it today. I think if you're a parent or grandparent, I think you should be watching this and saying, okay, what can we do? Let's jump into talking about what we can do, what we should be doing, and also the dangers of what's happening in our culture. Let's jump into it. This video starts right now.
Driving down the road that I grew up on once again. It's when
Hey guys, welcome to the Max. Thank you so much for being here today. If you're new to the channel, go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell, give us a thumbs up. If you want to give us a thumbs down, that's okay too, but let us know in the comments below what you liked or disliked about this video. It helps our community grow, and we hopefully can gain wisdom all together as we try to navigate this crazy time in America. We hear the comment, they're coming for your children. The war's on the minors. It's still happening, even though some conservatives and some people are pushing back, even though some areas and parents are pushing back, it's still happening. Let's jump into it with media, let's jump into it with schools, and let's jump into it with just the world in general. And hopefully we can figure out what we should be doing to protect our children. So media. Media is the slowest and most provoking way to get to your children. We live digitally with things in our hand. We watch television, we listen all the time. Our kids are with devices all the time. My kids don't have iPhones. I just don't think that's a good thing. They don't have any kind of smartphone. Even my oldest kids at 15, they don't have smartphones, because I know the scarcity and the worry that social media and also just random movies and media can cause and detriment to our children. I know how it can affect even adults. So if it can affect adults, it surely can affect the kids. Well, just this week it came out that you saw that social media is causing loneliness, is causing more suicides, causing more depression in children and Gen Z than any other time in our history. And that's all because of social media pressure. Not only that, media in general, if we are looking at television all the time and the slow, methodical way that they put in certain things for you to see, then it's teaching our kids that it's just normal. Have you noticed a movie that had a normal family anymore? We talked about this the other day, a normal mom, dad, nuclear family, that it was a great situation with family, and the whole movie was about this great family that was doing wonderful. That time has passed. It's mostly very dysfunctional families and very disrespectful children. Not only that, you're seeing the indoctrination of maybe a skew to a certain agenda. For instance, Paw Patrol is putting out new characters that are not male or female. Paw Patrol, that's a kids television, or actually babies and kids television show. Now what they're doing is they're just making it look normal that you don't have to be a male or female. Blue's Clues did it. So Nickelodeon and Disney are both helping this methodical way of really taking your children and making normalcy out of something we would have thought that was absolutely nuts a few years back. Now, as an adult, I am a Christian conservative, but I am at the same time, I have a little libertarian lean where, you know, as an adult, if you choose to do things and you choose to be who you want to be, as long as it's not harming anyone else, I tend to say, you know what, you kind of have that freedom, because I don't want to ever think that the government should be stepping in on a lot of those rights, as long as there's no harm coming to someone or even to you. I think that's absolutely stupid that we talk about euthanize and all that. But when it comes to your children, we're starting to push this abnormal lifestyle and this abnormal thinking on children, so they think that's normal now. If they see more and more and more of agendas pushed even in the media or social media, then it doesn't become, oh, it's just the non-normity. It means, oh, that's just normal. So I'm growing up seeing that this is just normal life, that people can change who they are, even though they really can't. It's amazing that we would say, our children, I want to cut their fingers off, and you would actually probably be arrested. However, you can cut another body part off, and we applaud it as a society and as a culture. That is absolutely scary. In media, actors, actresses, movies, and kids shows are putting more of this in front of your children, And when they put it in front of your children, what happens? It makes them believe that that is the new normal. The new normal is actually indoctrinating them to believe that, you know, the old traditional ways is just old traditional. It's not working anymore. We don't believe that way anymore. Male and female are not absolute. That's crazy, and you're seeing it more and more, and that's how the media and social media are manipulating your children. Number two, with our government. Our government has publicly backed schools. You're paying for them. As a homeschooler, I have 6 children. We homeschool our kids. However, I'm still taxed. I still have property tax. I still have to pay into school systems that I personally don't believe in. Now, here's the biggest thing I always hear. When we talk about these school issues and talk about the indoctrination, we talk about the dangers of the agendas they're pushing. These teachers are sketchy and teaching things that are not math, science, and arithmetic or history. They're teaching their own core beliefs. I hear it all the time. Oh, well, that's not happening in our school. That's in another school. That's in California. That's in Oregon. That's in New York. That's bull. It's happening all around you. Did you see that a man won the homecoming queen, I think in Missouri? Missouri now. That's not a liberal state. I'm saying it's happening more often. If we see it, and again, the new normity, the new normal, then we just say, oh, it's okay. That, you know, the males can swim with females. We have no such thing as a normal bathroom. In school, we start setting that policy and changing history. If we start changing history and we start manipulating what we teach our children and not actual facts, then therefore they believe that it's okay. Why would you think that any other time in history that we've had history, we've had school, we've had all that go on, there's never been a generation that has felt uneasy in their own skin? Did you know that 20% of Gen Zers, again, the ones in school now, believe that they are some other kind of gender or are part of the LGBT movement? I don't believe that's normal, because again, if we thought that was normal, why is the other generations not the same? We're under 5 and 4 and 3 and 2%, all the other generations prior to this Gen Z. So it shows the movement, the agenda, the teaching that we're getting even in schools and the indoctrination. The media is making an influence into our children. We always talk about, I can love my kids, I can tell them I love them, but the action of me showing that I love them and doing things for them proves that I love them. It influences their life. As a father, I want to influence my boys. As a father, I want to influence my girls to see what, you know, how good I treat their mom, so they can realize how important that is. I'm impacting them and influencing them. If you as a parent cannot do that because they're in school 8 hours a day, and then you're working, and then all of a sudden by the time you get home, they have homework, and then they're getting in bed at 8:30 or 9, so you may have 2 or 3 hours worth of time with them. Are you being the influence, or is the school being the influence? Now the question is, if you don't know what your school is teaching, you better find out what your school is teaching. Do you know that this is true history? Do you know this is true math? We're doing true social studies and not some kind of anthropology on today's times and how they can kind of skew it. Make sure you understand what our government schools are teaching. This even falls down on Christian academies and smaller schools. We need to know what our kids are being taught. So as a parent, you better know what your kids are being taught. Don't think that everybody up there is honest and everybody's doing a good job. I think we're in a different time and period where we can't even trust teachers. Look, there's a study that said that there's churches backing the same policies, this new agenda push. So it shows you have to make sure that every aspect of your life, you as a parent, are watching what your kids are doing, listening to, and who they're around, because they're all making impacts on your children, even though you don't think so. So you better know who they're hanging around with. You better know what the teachers they have. You better know the schools they go to, the churches they go to, because what we're doing is we're building a new generation of people who find value in socialism, find value in not knowing if they're male or female, find value in medicines and pharmaceuticals because they're overly depressed, find value in living virtually and not living in this world and trying to find a mate, husband and wife. It's a totally different culture. We have to break that, because when I say they're coming for your children, they already came and they're already impacted on. Look at it. Gen Z is impacted. Millennials were impacted, but you're starting to see these newer generations impacted even more. Thirdly, we kind of hit on it with the church. No family is perfect, and we're not perfect parents, and we mess up. You can't help, again, how people raise their children. You want their kids to be raised in the best way possible. So then it comes down to you as a person to try to lead your community. With me, we have a homeschooling group. We have co-ops. So if parents are having struggles, or at the church they have questions about how they can raise their children, we're not trying to teach them how to raise their children. We're just saying this is what we're doing, and hopefully that will impact them to make better decisions for their children. So we have to be a strong bond for other parents. Parents are fighting a battle with phones, with media, with school. They have to find somebody that says, okay, I believe like you do. They can't just feel like they're alone in the dark. So if we're raising children, and then this other family's raising children, and this other family's raising children, and we're all trying to do it the right way, there's strength in numbers, and it helps us say, you know what? I don't have all the answers, but hey, help me here. Let's gain some wisdom from this couple here. That's what's so great about community, building a nice community such as a homeschooling group, a nice community such as a good PTA to go to your public schools administrators and your teachers and say, this is not what we want for our kids. We want them to be taught typical school, not how to live a life. That's not your job. Your job is to teach them education, not to try to change their lifestyle. We talked about the story with California, and I think yesterday or the day before video, where schools are saying, well, you know, should parents have rights over the school? Remember, when the school has rights of your children and the school is with your kids, then your kids are pretty much the rights of that school, not yours. So like, for instance, when we had tornado drills, I was raised in public schools. I didn't like them, but that's all we had, which we were not as indoctrinated as these groups. But when we were in school, if we had tornado drills and things like that, they would tell parents, hey, you can't get your kids. We got to lock them down for safety. The more and more that we see this agenda being pushed, the more control that goes over the schools. The schools have more rights than you as a parent. Look at what the legislation's doing in California. Look at what the legislation's doing in New York. Look at what the legislations are doing, where they're saying, well, parental rights only go so far. It's kind of like when they say First and Second Amendments are not absolute. They're saying the same thing. Male and female, not absolute. Parental rights, not absolute. When you start hearing those terms from these agenda pushers, you're starting to see the fact that they're controlling what your kids are, they're controlling what your kids hear, they're controlling who your kids will be, and also they're controlling where your kids go at all times more than you do as a parent. If they're with your kids from 7:30 to 3:30 every day, or if they're in college and they're even longer hours, you are not making the impact that you think you're making. They may be making more of an impact than you. So why do I say they're coming for your children? Why do I say they're impacting your kids? Because look at our generations. They already have. Kids coming up do not see value in marriage. Kids coming up do not see value in church. Kids coming up do not see values in true morals and values. They have more of a relativist look. If it's right for you, it's right for you. If it's wrong for you, it's wrong for you. However, if we turn the whole thing around and we said, okay, we're going to do Christian teaching in public schools, it would be an outcry. You would have media all over it. If we said Blue's Clues was going to start doing prayers and Paw Patrol was going to have someone doing a Bible study, it would be a media outcry. Nobody pushes against this movement now that we're going through other than a few pundits and a few conservatives. We just allow it to happen thinking, well, it's not happening to us, or our kids are not watching that. Slowly and surely, it's impacting your children. So what can you do? You have to be over your school boards. You have to find out how you can impact your school board elections. We always talk about the presidential elections, senate elections, but you better worry about your local elections. Who your supervisor is, who your aldermen or councilmen are, who your mayor is, who your superintendent is, who your school board is. When you start making impacts there, you're going to start changing your environment and your community. Sometimes we put too much emphasis on the national elections and not enough in the local and state elections. When we start impacting the local and state elections, when we have a voice way more than we do on the national side, then we can start impacting people. If you can, learn to homeschool. I think it's a great thing. Being home with your children, me being able to come home from work and eat lunch with them, me being able to come home and see them when they don't have piles of homework, because the way they build our homeschooling, it allows them to do all their work while they're in school instead of homework. I've never understood how we send our kids to school for 8 hours a day and then come home for 2 hours to have homework. That's absolutely crazy. It's taken away from your family time. Sometimes also, if you have to send your kids to school, why don't we cut out some activities? Why don't we say, look, we can't do baseball, football, soccer, karate, piano, guitar, and therefore it gives me more time as a parent to love on my kids, to be there for my children. You have to work, you shouldn't be going out with the buddies and all that. You should come home and be a father. Mom, you can have time off, but at the same time, if you need to be home and making meals or being home with your family, you're gonna be more of an impact being at home with your husband or with your children. You're gonna make a family structure. You're gonna make the kids have a safe place to come to after a school day. We have to learn to impact our family and our communities. Quit worrying about what happens with Trump and Biden right now. Right now, if they're coming for your children, that's not the fight that you need to worry about. You need to worry about your local elections, your local leadership, because you can impact people. If your kids are not getting indoctrinated already at school, then you better be proactive now. Because right now, there's so many school boards and so many parents that are having to be reactive because they've allowed it to go too long. School libraries, you need to know what's in those libraries. Remember, the more they find normalcy in this abnormal push of agenda, the more that your traditional ways are leaving their side, and the more this new normal is becoming what they see as, oh wait, this is how all the world works. It's not true at all. We're not perfect. Man, I'm not perfect at all. I mean, I wish I could be, but I want to be the best role model for my boys. I want to be the knight in shining armor for my girls. I want them to see value in how I love my wife. I want to build a core family. Now, does that make them not face the world and do some crazy things and not become just like the rest of this agenda push? It doesn't, but it gives them a better fighting chance to have core values and morals to say, you know what, this is not right. And that's what we try to push here. Sometimes, if you as an adult want to do things and have at it at 18 years old and you want to cut every body part off, I think that's absolutely crazy. Now, I wish you wouldn't do it, and I wish doctors would be persecuted for it. But if you choose to do that, by all means, you're an adult. I can't stop you. But for you to say that's okay and we're going to make our kids do it, or that's okay, let our kids do it, or we would not let them cut off their toe or their foot or their hands, but we'll let them cut off body parts, other body parts, because it fits our agenda, that's when it crosses the line. And if you don't see parents start being proactive, they're going to have to be reactive, and it's going to be too late. The kids are already indoctrinated. You're seeing kids now push for socialist communist ways because they've been so brainwashed to think that's the right way. Communism is good. And it's not. So start teaching your children. Let's do a reset on our family structure, and let's try to be in church. Let's try to build a family that says, you know what, we're going to focus on not our phones tonight. We're not going to focus on bad movies. We're going to focus on loving our kids, spending some time playing Uno, playing Phase 10, or watching some clean movies that doesn't have any kind of indoctrination on it. Guys, that's my rant for the day. Let me know what you think below. They are coming for your children. The main thing is you have to realize media, government are working hand in hand. But you as a parent, you can stand up and you can start fighting for your children again. Be the parent that you should be. Making the hard decisions, working hard with others, and building a community to say, you know what, we're going to be proactive, not reactive. Guys, thank you for watching. God bless. Happy homesteading.